Is everything on? Everything is on. Everything is on. Welcome into the Pugs and Parker stream. Heard every Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let's bring in James Parker without any further ado. Look at him. There he is. Look at him.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Good to see you. Oh my God, nice crowd.
Having some earphone problems here. Who else we got? Look at this. We got E. Let's bring E in. Look at him. There he is. All right. Come one, come all. Chat room's open. Pull up a beanbag chair. We'd love to accommodate you, as we'd like to say around here. You're encouraged to offer an opinion. Doesn't mean it's always going to be tolerated. This is the second of two streams that we do here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. I do one at noon called High Noon. It's current events, it's hot topics, headlines, all that kind of stuff. If it's happening in the world, I try and give it to you in a nice little rundown. Think of it that way, a cheat sheet for your day. Just a little bit of knowledge about all the things that you need to know about what's happening in the world today. That's every day at noon, Monday through Friday. We call it High Noon. And then we do this Monday through Thursday, Pugs and Parker. Now, our new friend, not our new friend, I was going to say our old friend, E, who is back in the mix, hanging out with us. How are you today, E? What's going on with you?
I'm doing good. Day 2 of a 30-day burger-only diet.
30-day burger. Now, explain, what is a 30-day burger-only diet?
Just like, gonna do burgers. That's it.
Thank you for elaborating, talk show host.
Yeah, maybe you can help out with a little bit more. Maybe more. Is there a reason you're just doing burgers? What kind of burgers are you going to do? Will you be making burgers?
Well, what a burger.
Part of a diet?
Burger.
Is this part of...
Like I did this last night.
I got to let the dog in.
So last night...
dog in.
God damn it.
I told you I was... Actually, this is weird because we have Mondo on tonight, and I was thinking of Mondo yesterday. And I went to Whataburger.
Thanks for breaking the surprise.
Well, oh, okay, whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, the point is, I went to Whataburger, and I had an avocado bacon burger, and I added grilled jalapenos and grilled onions to it, and I think it was the best damn fast food burger I've had in my entire life.
What is that? I just walked in. I walked in late, and
The Whataburger avocado bacon burger.
He might be right. He might be right. This might be it.
And I added the grilled jalapenos and the grilled onions to it.
Goodness. If we only had a burger expert on the show today, that might be somebody we could ask about such things. Personally, if you're asking me, my favorite fast food burger is the Portillo's double cheeseburger. Sleeper on the menu. Nobody thinks to get the burgers at Portillo's, and they're freaking amazing. How about you, James?
Filet of fish. Once a month, throw it in the rotation. And
not a burger. I'm asking you for your favorite fast food burger. He said Whataburger. Oh. I said the Portillo's double cheese.
Well, it sounded like you were going like secrets of the fast food world because you were sneaking in Portillo's, which is obviously not renowned for its burger prowess. And so I was going to throw in sort of the
suggesting is surf and turf, like the filet of fish on top of the burger.
They did that.
My opinion doesn't matter on the show. It doesn't matter.
I'm asking, were you suggesting a surf and turf?
No, but I like the sound of that. I can't say that I've ever done it, but I already feel a whiff of inspiration from that sentence that you thrown at me.
Well, you're not going to get any shade from me on the filet of fish. That's a top-notch thing at McDonald's. If you were like, hey, you can only get one thing from McDonald's for the rest of your life, I would probably go with the filet of fish. I know, crazy, but it's that good. Big Mac would be very difficult for me to never have again, but whatever, I could survive. But what is your favorite fast food burger? Like if you had to just like you're craving a burger, you know what I mean? Where are you going to go for your burger? Do you like the Whopper? Do you like the Big Mac? Do you like the Wendy's Daily?
Look,
what are we talking about?
I am so sometimes adversarial to E, but on this one, I think he might have nailed it with that Whataburger that he just described. You throw in just the regular old big fat ass Whataburgers, already doing the bacon and the cheese, and you add the grilled onions and the jalapenos. That might be You know, I mean, plus or minus avocado.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
All right.
I,
And
I
you
pretty much
might
agree with
be,
you.
or you've had. I'm asking you.
I have had that exact order that E just
All
described,
right.
and yes,
All right.
that's the
Two votes.
closest to burger heaven.
And to go full circle,
Yeah.
that's what I've had the last 2 days.
Why though? See, there's
So
more
why are you
than
doing
just
30 days? Where'd that come from? Sorry, Mondo, we're
Well,
idiots.
Why? Because remember Morgan Spurlock?
Yeah, we're
He did McDonald's for 30 days.
But why? But
Yes.
he did that for the payoff for a movie that he had backers paying him.
All right.
to
Well,
do.
I'm going
Why
to
are
try to
you
lose
doing
weight
it?
with this.
Are you?
Did you
Right?
not see the rebuttal? Because what he's talking about is the documentary Super Size Me, which whether or not you agree with the conclusions of the documentary, it was really well put together, and anyone who sits through it will be entertained, whether you agree with it or not, because it's a damn good little movie.
Spurlock's entertaining as hell.
Yeah,
He
and
makes
I
good
disagreed
stuff.
with like all of it, but I enjoyed the movie. I don't have to agree with something to like it. But there was some college professor who made a rebuttal to it, who had some of his students come up with a diet for him where he only ate McDonald's for the next 30 days, just like the Morgan Spurlock example, following the exact same rules of Morgan Spurlock, but do so in a way where he loses weight. And he did. He lost like 12 pounds.
Yeah, you can do that with Subway too. I mean, it might turn you into a pedophile, but you can just go on that Subway diet.
Well, it's
What?
calories.
Oh, Jared. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was a little slow on
It's
that.
just it's calories. Anyway.
Points. You get points.
I was gonna say, you dumbass. I needed one part. I knew E wasn't gonna get that joke. I was hoping you would, and it went right through your legs like Billy Buckner.
Huh. Yeah, you get points for the obscure pop culture reference. Well done. All right. Guest time?
Introduce us to our guest. We've done enough small talk.
Damn it, man. We're getting to the point where people are starting to reach out to us because they want to be on this documentary in the continuing saga of Who Killed Live 1053. We are now going to entertain the stories from Mondo Mike from the Jager Show.
Mondo!
What's up?
A burger expert.
Yeah, you fucked up, bro. You fucked up big time. Going Waterburger. Like, it's the funny story.
Hold on, Mondo.
Okay.
Mondo Mike for years, sidekicking, co-hosting there with Jager on the morning show. One of the more popular add-ons to the Jager Show experience. Everybody loved Mondo, but one of the things that he was known for widely was his burger expertise.
Right.
Why I was trying to get these idiots to fund. It's like they didn't get where I was going. You said James Filet-O-Fish. All right, now you tell us, Mondo. You tell us what's right.
Yeah. Well, I have a Big Mac hack, and it's easy to do, and I did it. I think I did a quick YouTube short on it, but you just take the middle bun, you throw away the top bun, you take the middle bun and just flip it over, and that's the Big Mac hack.
And what does it do? Shave off?
You just lose that
bun
top
part?
bun. It's almost like having Texas toast. You're losing the top bun and keeping the middle bun. So, but you got to go to Rockwall to a place called Boots Burgers, and it's cash only. It's out of this old granny's house on Route 66. I'm not bullshitting you, and it's amazing. They're all hand-formed patties. You don't get French fries. It's chips only. And you can't customize it and add jalapenos and truffles and all that bullshit that you uppity people do. These are down home backyard hamburgers that are badass. And
What's it called again? It's in
called
Rockwall.
Boots. It's Boots Burgers in Rockwall. There's a place in Fort Worth, and I kind of know where burgers are everywhere. There's a place in Fort Worth called Jay's Casa Burger. I don't particularly care about having French fries with my burgers because it's just a good add-on. It's about the burger. Jay's has a badass homemade hamburger, but if you like French fries, their French fries come out the size of Cadillacs, and they were just rated like top one of Ford's top 5 burgers or whatever, like Fred's and Kincaid's and shit like that. But well worth the drive.
All right, very
All
cute,
right.
very folksy suggestions, but
Yes.
let me drag you back down into the mainstream with us plebes out here. If you got to, you're driving down Preston Avenue. You got to get a burger. Where the places we can all go. Which one is it? The Big Mac? Is it the Whopper? Is it the What is it? What do you got?
Oh
Burger?
fuck!
Fast
Well, okay.
food burger.
So yeah. Well, okay. If I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but I would, in all honesty, I would say the number 2 from In-N-Out, Animal Style, is it's a cheap burger. You're not dropping a shit ton of money for it, and you know, and the number 2 from Whataburger. But
Yeah.
I eat it a certain way. I only do mayo and mustard, no onions, no pickles. That's how I eat my burgers. And you can have your burger your way. I don't put any of that other nonsense on it. To me, it's just a simplified, dressed down burger. But you know, yeah, if we just want to go, I can't do. I'm not knocking Wendy's or Sonic or Burger King or any of those other burger joints, but for me, it'll be In-N-Out. That's the 2, In-N-Out or Whataburger.
Those are my 2.
A little snobby. I like a I love a Big Mac every now and again, especially get it when the grill was just turned over.
Yeah,
Hot. Like right after breakfast, man. I used to work in a building, the Merchandise Mart in Chicago, and we had a McDonald's in the building. And the morning show, which I was on, would end at 10 o'clock in the morning. And that's right when they flipped the burgers. That's right when they flipped from Egg McMuffins to Big Macs. We used to try and be the first people of the day to get down there to get that first Big Mac, because there really is something about when the grill is all cleaned, and I don't know, it's just fantastic.
It's not in the steam bath anymore, but man, take that top bun off. If you got to keep the top bun, then get a side order of chicken nuggets and put it on top of the burger.
Oh, wow. the meat and the chicken together.
Oh, yeah.
You were saying that you don't like any of that nonsense on your burger. You know, I'm the other guy. I'm the give me all the nonsense.
Yeah.
Nonsense you got. Whatever nonsense you got, put it on my burger. I want to try it. Pineapple.
Hey, by the
let's
way,
do it.
the last time I was on with you guys, we got a cease and desist because I was talking about Russ, and the former station that I was on. Y'all don't remember that? They threw a CD
I don't think that was with us. I don't think.
No, it was with us.
That was a long time ago.
It was. I was cussing.
Oh, was that back in the bar live?
No, we were doing a podcast, and I was throwing down, and I can't. JD, I think, was the market manager, and they threw us a cease and desist while we were doing the podcast, and I was like, "Fuck them. We're not terrestrial radio."
Well,
man, if you could get a cease and desist now, that would be great. We would.
That would.
We haven't started the stories yet, so
that is probably not going to be a real concern. But I do thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And I thank you for being willing to take some stories. I want to tell us some stories. I want to give you the little preamble that I've been giving to everybody, and that is. All the people that we're interviewing here, all the people that we're asking for stories are people that I've identified and James have identified as crucial to telling a full and fair story of the 105.3 experience. Now, you guys with the Jager show, you were there for about 5 years, I would say, about 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
right there in the very most crucial time. So I want to thank you for coming on here and being willing to talk about it. Now, you're not in radio anymore, right? You're not going to be worried about, making something.
they're fuck bridges. They've already all blown up. I'm never getting back. I don't think I'm ever getting back on the air.
Your bridges were blown up when you were on the air.
Oh, no shit. Well, here's the thing. The last gig I was on, this is such... are y'all sponsored by any major radio?
Go for it. Nothing. Just go. There are no limits to what you can say here.
Okay, so at the Edge, when we were on the backside, this was 2015. So in the summer of 2015, the market manager for what was Clear Channel at the time, or iHeart, we'd gone to a media golf tournament at WinStar, and I was in his fourth
group,
and he had asked me about one of the program directors for the station. Now, I'm not going to mention any names, but he had asked me about one of the program directors. I was like, between us? And he goes, yeah, man, between us. No, I blew him up. I blew the PD up pretty bad.
To the market manager.
Say again?
To the market manager.
To the market manager.
Yeah, I blew up the PD to the market manager. And he was like, interesting, yeah. But I was like, you know, we had the understanding it was not for air. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
sure. Because you can
oh,
always
right,
corporate
right.
fights with that kind of
Yeah, I
stuff.
Oh
never
man, he
liked
fucked
that.
me. He fucked me so bad because
Sure.
that was like a Friday. So Monday, I get back early to the station. Jager's acting kind of weird. Now Jasmine had already moved over to the country station, so primarily it was just Jager and I, and the producer. And Jager's like, "Hey, you need to go see the head PD after the show today." And my mic, he was cracking my mic. I wasn't cracking my mic. So Jager was doing real quick hitters, and I didn't really get a pony up that much. And then after the show, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna go holler at him. And inside the main PD's office was the PD I was blowing up. And I was basically saying with the Edge, you know, everyone wondered, well, and I'm not trying to go off on why the Edge died, but you know, being one of the alternative stations in the market, when you have a bunch of artists who are crossing over onto other stations like Kiss and 1029 and 103 1037, they're diluting what we were as an alternative station. If our numbers would have been great if we were the only ones, you know, spinning that music, but everybody was. So our numbers weren't ever going to be fantastic. But
You're talking about what I was alternative rock. I worked in alternative rock too in Chicago back when we had it all to ourselves, and it was nice. But then we started to see the erosion by these new mix stations, which were like alternative rock. They're playing the alternative bands, but it's for the ladies. It's a little bit softer version. And then they started going with harder alternatives. So for 5 years, the alternative stations like the Edge really had the playing field all to themselves. And then the band started wanting to sell more records. So
and then it diluted what we were as a station. So, so I got called out on the carpet, and I mean they drop kicked the shit out of me. But that market manager basically fucked me. So then we did How the Edge Stole Christmas, and shortly after that, they gave me my walking papers, and they told me you're not getting any severance, you're not getting any vacation. And at the time, I was only making, I think, like 30 grand a year as a sidekick to Jager, with the promise, you know, if the numbers are good, then
the promises.
Oh yeah. So, and of course, the numbers were never there. And then they brought in some guy from Houston, and that didn't work. Adam somebody, and then they flipped
Adam Smasher.
Adam Smasher, that's it. And then they flipped it. So, you know, if they had kept the format and prevented any spins, any of the other stations from getting spins, we would have had better numbers. But you know, fuck, now I don't even know anyone that ever really listens to terrestrial radio. This type of format is what people like to listen to, you know, and it's a good alternative because it's no holds barred.
I have a 13-year-old. My 13-year-old son thinks radio is funny. Like every time I talk about, like not in a cool way. He thinks it's like, oh, that's funny. How you like have to sit through commercials, and you have to hope that the song you want to hear is on. That's so.
Well, that was the genius of 105.3 at Live 105.3. Fuck, we would blow through stop sets because we had some kind of crazy content that we were doing. And Jager was like, well, we'll just have 11-minute stops at the top of the hour.
That's the downside of it. We always made up them damn spots.
We had to.
So maybe we flew through them, but we'd go into a break for 20 minutes.
That's it. That's it.
All right, Mondo, let's start at the beginning. Actually, before the beginning, where were you when you were made aware that 105.3 even existed? What were your thoughts of the station when you were introduced to it before you even worked there?
Well, we were at the Edge still, and we had an agent in New York, and his name, well, it doesn't really matter what his name is, but
you guys had Bob Eastman, right?
David Katz, who was our guy. Okay. And so when they, well, okay, they called us one by one. We knew the bell was tolling for us because we were hearing rumors in the hallways that we were getting blown out. And finally, the day arrived, and Jager was cutting spots, and we were all in our office, and I'll never forget the HR person poked her head in the room, and she goes, "Hey, where's Jager?" And we were like, oh, well, he's cutting spots. And so they said, oh, well, Dean, will you come with me? And so they just started picking us off one by one. And Jager had kind of given us a directive of don't say shit, don't do anything, you know. But see, like, man, I've been in the business for so long, especially in this market, that I was like, you know, I didn't, at the time, I didn't want to burn bridges. So when I walked in, I was like, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everything you did. I was shaking everybody's hands and glad handing. And I know this is a horrible position for you guys
You
to be.
cuck!
Oh, Jesus. But Jager blew me up because I went downstairs like, hey, man, I was being magnanimous. You know, why are you blowing me up?
Be a professional.
I know how this business works. I was going down the ship, but hey, I was also playing the violin while it was going down, you know? And so I was sitting there, and then, I mean, like, we were all in the garage, and we were going, oh, shit. And Jagger's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. David's already over it. He's already talking to somebody who, at the time, it was David Henry, and with Live 105.3.
Right.
And Gavin. And so...
No, it wouldn't have been Gavin. Gavin would have been about 21 at the time.
No, at that time? Well, no, Gavin was there.
No, it was Bob McNeil. No, Gavin didn't show up till 2004.
Oh, okay. Well,
wait a second. Yeah, it would have been, because this would have been 2004. Yeah, so this... Yeah. Okay, so Gavin was there. You're right.
Yeah, it was David and Gavin. So they were talking, but we didn't know anything. And Jagger's like, everyone just chill. Just wait. Then, I think a day later, we all had a lunch with DH. And it was to come to 105.3, and all of us were going, wait, that's the Howard Stern station? And we were like, well, wait a minute, what's going to happen with Howard? And that's when the rumors of David Lee Roth had come in. And, you know, as a morning show, it was us trying to figure out, well, where do we fit in on that? Because the lineup for Live 105.3 was set. You know, you guys were middays. Russ came on, whenever it was, Russ came on, and then there was, you know, the nighttime program, but it was Howard primarily in the mornings, and nobody knew really when Howard ended. It just ended.
Yeah.
And
tell me about it.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And so then there was David Lee Roth. And so we got folded into the after show of David Lee Roth leading up to our crosstalk with you guys, whenever that was. Then it went to O&A. And then I said something, you know how I am on the air, and I said something bad about Opie and Anthony. Uh-oh. And all of a sudden the Opie and Anthony army's going after me. And they called the show, and Opie was asking me, because I said they're not funny. We need to fucking take this slot over.
I remember this. Oh, okay. My God. This is great audio. Does anybody have this audio?
That would be great. That would be great. Because so Opie's trying to call me out. He goes, Mondo, why don't you, I don't get it. I don't get what's going on. I said, well, here's the deal. It's not that y'all aren't just not funny. It's that you have to tell everybody after every bit how funny you guys are. Let the audience decide whether you're funny or not. Not you. You're trying to force everything you guys do that is, to me, so unfunny. But you're like, wasn't that bit great? Hey, Anthony, wasn't that? And Anthony was cool. Anthony was like really laid back. Yeah, Mondo, you know, that's really, you know, we're just trying to do our thing and shit. And I don't know if they were just trying to keep Dallas as an affiliate, but I didn't care. You know, and we didn't even really have anything locked up contract-wise with Live 105.3 at the time. And then O&A went away, and then the party began. Then we rolled in.
Yeah, I said this to Jager as well, that, you know, one of the things that that station can lay claim to is being the most successful of the CBS. At the time, CBS had a format that they called FM Talk, and they had rolled out all of these stations, initially anchored by Howard Stern. Then when Howard left, they panicked. Some markets had David Lee Roth and a bunch of other people, Opie and Anthony. All of those shows didn't do as well. But because of us in Dallas, because we had the Jager show on deck, we were able to slide into the morning show, a proven market-winning show that also messed the culture of what the rest of the Live 105.3 station was doing. So we were in a better position than every other. None of the other stations. Chicago didn't have anybody ready to slide in when Howard got out of their FM talk station. New York certainly didn't. Los Angeles didn't either. We're the only ones who had on the bench a proven morning local winning show. And that's why, and I say why we can be proud, we outlasted all of them. They all started to fall one after another. After Howard left, all of those stations were propped up with a morning show. One by one, those stations started to flip formats. All of them flipped to sports. The Boston one flipped to sports. The Los Angeles one flipped to sports. Chicago flipped to sports. They all flipped. We didn't. We outlasted everybody.
Well, initially.
And that's because of you guys. What's that? I'm sorry?
No, I said initially, yeah.
Right. But this is the thing. All of those other stations were folded up because they were no longer economically viable in their home market. That wasn't the case with us. That wasn't the case with 105.3. Those shows were folded up because nobody would advertise on the new morning show that wasn't Howard Stern in Portland. We didn't have that problem in Dallas. As a matter of fact, our advertising went up because you guys were now doing live remotes. You guys were now doing live. And our local revenue skyrocketed. We were the outlier of the FM talk stations, and we should be very proud of that.
And not going to lie, I mean, what Jager had such a loyal following from advertisers, because it was like we didn't give a fuck who we accepted an advertisement for, or at least advertising for. If they wanted us to do live reads, to us it was like, bring it on, the more the merrier. We'd do live reads the whole show if they'd let us, so we didn't really give a shit. And so Jager had such good heat that he was able to bring all these advertisers along with him, and they were like, well, wherever you're going, we're going. So they leave that part of Clear Channel, and then a lot of them get now some of them were like, well, no, that's not our format, that's not the way we roll. So some of them stayed at the edge, but we brought a bunch of heat. And then of course, there's a very funny story with Bob Lavelle and I. We had just started there, and the girl that I was married to at the time, we had put some money down on a house in Rockwall. And Bob Lavelle was walking by, and we're literally just starting to, like, I don't even think we had an office yet. We were just trying to get settled in. And Bob Lavelle, and he goes, excuse me, did I understand you correctly that you've put some money down in a house? And I said, yeah. And he goes, Bob Lavelle, so he does his thing, and he goes, Jager, nice to meet you. I'm going to be advertising on your show and all that. And he goes, Mondo, do me a favor. Why don't you come to my office when you have an opportunity within a day or two? And so I went over there, and he showed me this whole thing about this builder that was horrible. And so he got me and my wife a great deal on a house in McKinney and hooked us up and did all these great things for us. So, I was really happy. And I was like, this is crazy that advertisers are inviting you to their, to their offices and stuff. Because we didn't have anything like that.
Well,
so I was like, man, this dude's really cool, So it was cool to see advertisers do stuff like that.
That's another thing that set that station apart and why it was so successful, because every one of those shows had autonomy. Every one of those shows had their own advertisers that they were so lipped into. I mean, our advertisers, Pugs and Kelly show, they went wherever we wanted. They went everywhere we went. You know what I mean? They were in our pocket. You had the exact same thing. Russ can say the exact same thing for his. So there was never a situation where it was like, a show was afraid that they were going to be unmeritoriously fired for no reason, because they're like, wait a second, though, I'm going on a 3-day vacation with the station's second biggest advertiser. I don't think you want to be firing me. And that's a very strange dynamic for hosts to enjoy. Hosts typically are not allowed to have those kinds of relationships with advertisers for these very obvious reasons. Worked for us, though.
It worked for everybody.
So, Mondo, what was different about working at Live 105.3 than previous stations, including the Edge, but anything else you could?
Well, first of all, there was probably not a day during our show that after our show we didn't feel like the FCC was going to kick our door down and arrest us. And we couldn't do that at the Edge. Because there were moments on our show that we didn't we did a thing called family fornication. We we didn't just push the line. There were moments, like for instance, we would have a girl to win a prize. We would have a girl call her grandma, asking if granddad had ever gone in through the back door.
Yeah.
You know, we did these, kind of double entendres, but we pushed the envelope, and we should have been arrested so many times. And Dean, to his credit, Dean was the one who wrote all the stuff for, family fornication, all these other kind of naughty things that we did. But to me, this was the best part of our show, was that when it came to show prep, Jager came in with a stack that big of show prep. He didn't tell us anything. So our reaction, now we had our character of who we were in the show. So Jager would he wanted our natural reaction from what our character would react. So he would bring up a subject, but almost universally it was me against all of them. Rarely did, but that was my role.
That was the beauty of it.
Yeah. And so then that started the whole thing of pink Post-its. And the pink Post-its thing, which still to this day, because me and Jager, Dean and Jasmine, we still do a group, text message thing. And pretty recently, we were getting kind of heated. And this goes back to a moment where I had said that there were yachts on Lake Louisville. And Jager called me out on it. And he goes, "That's bullshit. There's no yachts on Lake Louisville." Well, the phone lines blew up. And so they were like, "Of course there are yachts on Lake Louisville." And I said, "Pink Post-it." So I wrote down the time and date on a pink Post-it, and I started putting it on my monitor. And so by the end of our thing, I had like 5 million pink Post-its of shit that I would say that was right that Jager would get wrong. So it still gets him to this day.
Now, there are not any ocean lining yachts.
No, but see,
but there's some big ass expensive. He's got a yacht out on.
No, my boat is not a yacht.
Well, you know what I'm saying. There are people out there with some pretty impressive boats out there that can certainly be described as yachts.
Well, you guys, y'all come from big, vast, Lake Michigan type lakes, and he's from Jersey and New York.
He's from Buffalo. We're a couple of Great Lakes
Erie.
guys. Yeah.
So y'all seen these big yachts, but Lake Louisville, to me, those are yachts, and everyone was catching my back on it. So that's how I broke his balls on that.
All right, so let me ask you this. So, Mondo, we haven't done this with anybody else, but I thought you would be a fun person to do it with because you're famously ungovernable. You just, So here's what I want to do with you. I want to throw out some names. I'm just going to throw out a name of somebody from 105.3, and I just want you to give me a quick little take on that, okay? Okay? All right, we'll start out.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know how quick a take I can give you, but I'll do my best.
And you know what? It's fine for you to pass. You can say pass, because that'll be quite telling, too. I don't want you to pass, but if you must.
I doubt I'll pass on it if I can remember who they were.
I don't think you'll need that either. All right, we'll start from the very top. Chris Jager.
Love him. He's like my brother. He's like my brother that I love without equivocation.
Richard Hunter.
Love BDH too. He's a pure-hearted man. I've never had a crossed path with Dick, and I think he's supremely intelligent, or that's an act. I don't know which one.
It's a hard act to pull off, though. The extremely intelligent act is a difficult one.
Yeah.
Pull off unless you're already there. All right, you mentioned him first because I have some hot takes. David Henry.
David Henry is a shrewd businessman.
David Henry was general manager of the radio station for a period of time when Mondo was brought on.
Smart guy, too. Smart guy, shrewd businessman, and he knows what he's doing.
It seems like you want to say something negative.
No.
And the reason I asked that is because push come to shove, I've worked for a lot of GMs, and I don't mind David. And as a matter of fact, I found David to be a pretty pleasant gentleman.
No, I have a regret with
some of the other ones.
I actually have a regret with him. when we were going in for a contract renegotiation, I kind of was I wasn't kind of. It was David Henry and Gavin. I think there was somebody else in there. His name just slips my mind. But I was being a dick to them. They were giving us a very nice salary bump, and I was being a dick. We weren't represented at the time. Jager was like, look, when you're kicking to your agent, you start at the back end of your deal, you start to feel a little bit of regret that you have to do that, because every paycheck you're kicking to your agent, they're trying to get you the best deal that you can get. But near the back end of the contract, you're like, hey, fuck, I'm still kicking to this guy. And, what's he done for me lately? So we didn't really negotiate our final deal at Live 105.3. It was, here's the presentation. And when they presented it to me, I basically said, well, this is weighted way more to the station than it is to me. But that's how it has to be. There's, we don't, the days of no cut contracts like Russ would have, we wouldn't be able to get that. Let go for any reason. Fuck it. We'll still pay you for a year. Numbers aren't up. Fuck it. We'll still pay you for however long you have on your contract. And that would have been nice to have, but I'll admit that I was a dick, they still gave us the deal, but that's a regret. That's why I'm not saying that David Henry did anything bad. It's more about me. I was the one that played that bad.
Well, I'll tell you, you have that regret, and that's one of those regrets that this is why, what you just described, this is why people, all my other buddies in radio where I'm always like, I need an agent. You need an agent, man. An agent has always gotten me. Here's how I've looked at it. The agent's going to get me 10% more than I can get on my own. That justifies his existence, and I don't have an adversarial relationship with management.
Yeah,
money.
That's it. That's it.
The whole. I think that's worth it. 10%. But, agents now, James, have you tried to get it? The idea of the old agent where he would take you on and be like, yeah, man, I like you. Let's do this. And then he would get his percentage when the deal was done. That doesn't exist anymore. Every agent wants a $2,000 a month retainer.
Good God.
They can look for jobs. It's like, what are you kidding me? It's absurd. Okay, so let's continue. David Henry, Gavin Spittle. Gavin Spittle was the program director of Live 105.3. His name's been mentioned a number of times on these streams by other people. Mondo Mike contemplating.
I'll say this. And not that Gavin would give a fuck about anything that I'd say. I'll put it to you like this. He rode that Russ horse for a long time. And here's the example I can give. One day on the air, I said that Russ sucked playing guitar because he did.
Bless you.
And I'm not allowed to say that. So
any other radio station in America that had the kind of ensemble shows that we had, that would have been welcomed because it would have been cross-contamination between shows. Everybody be having fun. Not at our station. Sorry, continue.
Was not welcomed.
No.
Number one. Number two, I don't know how much y'all have talked about like the police lights in the hallway and the keep hallways silent signs that were all over the place whenever the show was on and shit like that. Where we got yelled at a few times. With Jager and I, we would be there late doing something and we'd leave and their show would be on and Jager and I would be cutting up or laughing and we'd hear from inside their studio, shut the fuck up, from out in the hallway. And it's like, but Gavin, so I said Russ sucked playing guitar. That, of course, the listeners went, because the listeners that listen to us, they also listen to pretty much the whole
day.
They got you now, Mondo.
Yeah.
They want to see something bad happen to you, so they're telling on you now.
Oh, yeah. So they told Russ, so then Russ demanded to get the audio from our show where I said that. And it got scrubbed.
Good for you guys.
What that means is that it was erased.
Somehow we lost the tape.
Don't know how, don't know where. However, the next day Gavin came into the studio while we were on the air and says, Mike, did you say that Russ sucked playing guitar? And I was like, I don't think I did. I know he was playing guitar. I don't know if I said he sucked. And Gavin goes, you were never allowed to speak his name on the air ever again. I said, you can't tell me what the fuck I can and can't say on this station. I said, I have a First Amendment right of free speech. You can't tell me I can't say his name.
Actually, right, he can. He's the one guy who can.
So I said, Russ Martin. There, I said it. What are you going to do?
Oh.
You know? So it was like this. But it's like, why the fuck you tell me? Because
now, wait a second. Hold on. Just for a little bit of clarity here on my part. Was this, between you and Gavin, was this going on the air or off the air?
Oh, no, it's going on the air. And it wasn't fake.
Okay.
It was, he came in unannounced. And said,
you were no longer. The show?
Huh?
And interrupted the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, you were no longer allowed to speak Russ's name. I was like, Russ Martin, I have a First Amendment. You can't say, and so he was going down he was pissed. Gavin was pissed. And
see, these are the things I want to get at. Just if we can stop, I don't want to move past that too quickly.
I got to tell you something.
The idea that you can't say another coworker's name in the workplace, that's the level of absurdity that we were putting up with. That. Go ahead, Mondo, continue.
There is a finale between Russ and I on this thing because a lot more happened that made the relationship between Russ and I even more vitriolic and made me more jaundiced toward the show. Maybe not because not of the other players, not like Dan and Alfie. Are y'all saying the other dude's name? Are y'all saying Khloe's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't on any of those other dudes, but it was because Russ was the leader. So the next day, it was that day. Jager and I were leaving. I think Dean was with us, and who's walking in but JD. And JD goes, "Hey Mondo, so how did that go? You're probably not gonna do that again." And he was kind of laughing about it. And he wasn't breaking my balls, but he was like, "You see how it is with us? You see what we have to deal with?" And I started laughing. And, gosh, I don't know if I should even say this.
Yeah, you should.
Well, I asked JD, we were laughing, and I asked JD, I said, so what do y'all have planned for today? And he goes, wash, rinse, repeat. Is what JD said.
Yeah, that does sound like JD.
He might deny that he said it or whatever, but that's cool. But I'm just saying that was what he said to me.
It's not quite. It can be perceived as damning, but you're doing.
I'm not trying to be.
I know, but whatever job you do, you could describe whatever job you do. You could say the President of the United States, what do you do? It's say, hey, wash, rinse, repeat. You know what I mean? It sounds damning, and it sounds very much like we're not being creative. We're not trying to push the envelope, but it's JD.
They had a formula that worked. Wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, they did.
Let's open a bar. Let's learn how to play guitar. Let's open a car shop. Let's do it.
Here's what bothered me about all of that stuff is that they just, and maybe it was because they had never been anywhere else in this country in radio. I mean, Jager knew. Jager had been all over the place.
Syndicated, yeah.
Everything that they were doing, they acted like they were so unique and original. Like they're the only band that came out of a radio show. Every major market has a morning show guy who's got a band who goes out and plays. They all want to open a bar. They all have a car thing. And the arrogance of the Russ Martin show, where they just kind of... Russ Martin, we had to listen to Russ Martin for years talk about how he's the first band to ever get a vasectomy on the radio. Russ Martin is probably the 500th man to get a vasectomy on the radio. It was a radio bit going all the way back to the 70s. But, you tell your audience, who doesn't know that? Right. Your audience doesn't know some guy in Cleveland did it first in 75, right? So he would go. Those are the kind of duplicitous things that occurred on a daily basis with that show that just irked me. Because all the other shows were so natural. They were just, they were believable. They were real. You guys, when you listened to the Jager show and then you met you guys on the street, you were the same kind of guys, right? It wasn't an act. It wasn't just...
Right. Well, I remember... where their studio was, they had a little producer's booth that was behind their main studio, and this was on the Carpenter studio. And I'd gone in there once looking for we were all looking for something. We were going to do some scavenger hunt with guys in diapers or some bullshit like that. And I found a script from Russ's show in there, and I freaked out because I was like, a script, and it was from the time that they came on to the time that they ended, and I was, I mean, I'll be honest, because we were such a like, we were, if we had a bit that was working, we'd skip the commercials and we just keep rolling, but there was nothing ever contrived. We never did anything that was made up, but he had his look. He had his loyal listenership. When we went from going from
Can I say
Arbitron-
something? Let me interrupt for a second. So you just add something about the script. So I had heard for years. We'd all heard talk of the script. I'd never seen it. I did have firsthand knowledge from somebody who used to work on that show that one of the things that I admired about Russ was that he was seemingly one of the quickest wits I'd ever heard on the radio. How he just had this perfect line loaded for this perfect call.
and then commercial break.
And then I find out, well, none of that was live. The call was recorded, and the line was, or he'd have another line in something that was obviously live, and then I was told that he's got a little pad, and he's got a bunch of funny one-liners right there, and wherever he sees a situation where he could fit the funny one-liner in, he just, you know what? That's not exactly quick wit, and you know, I just it's but very successful. Who am I to argue with the success that
Well,
man
take
had?
notes, because the guy, for all his personality foibles, he was
Right.
good at prep. He did
was.
show prep.
He was. All right, I haven't even asked that name yet, though. So let's move on. We've talked about Kevin. Mondo Mike is our guest. I'm throwing out names from 105.3, and I'm asking him to just riff a little on it. Not only do we say his name, but we're going to ask you about Khloe.
Khloe and I, we go back in this market for years. Like when I was at Q102 was the first rock station I started.
Hold on. I got to interrupt one more time, just for people listening. Khloe used to work with us. Khloe is now serving prison time for some sexual offenses against children. It's a great shock to all of us. None of us across the board ever thought for a minute that this could. We're all shocked. Go ahead, Mondo. That's who we're talking. We're talking about.
Well,
go ahead, Mondo.
And just to kind of piggyback on that real quick, when it was discovered that Khloe was doing this stuff, I couldn't believe the amount of people who were still taking Khloe's side, because they were like, none of the evidence is not it's either been contrived and it's all fake just to try to corner Khloe into something. And I'm like, why would somebody want to do that? There's too much stuff out there that proves that he did what he did, and he copped to it. But Khloe and I, we had Dan O'Malley on the other day, and I believe that he was the one that said, well, you know, all that's well and good, but the Secret Service doesn't make mistakes like that. You know, and when the Secret Service is involved, it's more than just you know, disgruntled hacker. You know, I think that if it was a great deception from Khloe, because
how did you know Khloe? You were telling us about your personal relationship.
We go back. He was at the Eagle, and he was their promotions guy at the Eagle, and I was doing mornings with Bo and Jim, and then I had a Friday night show with a guy named Buddy Wiley, and we had the Friday Night Wrecking Crew, and it was an all request show, you know, so we would have everybody come in. We had just flipped alternative. We were a AOR station, album oriented rock station, and we flipped to more alternative because the Edge was on 94.5, and then there was the Eagle, and the like the Toadies and Trippin' Daisy and Deep Blue Something were all starting to break here in Dallas. So we were like, hey, look, Dallas is becoming a scene, so we need to gravitate towards that music. So Bowling for Soup and on and on and on, all these bands that were local, everyone wanted to be the station that was exclusive. Like Trippin' Daisy got put in a hard position because they were like, we want to only talk to one station. But if they did, all the other stations would embargo their music and say, well, fuck you guys, then we're not going to spin you. So it was such a fine line. But Khloe, in and of who he was, that we didn't know about, he came across as the greatest person on the planet if you met him.
Yeah.
You know, but there's this deep, dark secret, and it just goes to prove you just don't know. which you don't know.
You know, people say that, and it's a cliche, and we all just, you know, go, well, you never know what's in a man's heart, and you're like, whatever, that's a nice thing to say. And then you have, I mean, this is the first time in my life, and I'm a middle-aged man, and I've known a lot of people. This is the first time in my life where I've had a situation like this, where, like, you know, someone who you thought was a friend, and I would have called him a friend, absolutely. I'd say Khloe's a friend of mine. If I didn't know about this kind of stuff, we aren't close, we don't talk, we don't have each other's phone numbers, I don't think, but, you know, I still liked him. I've never had an experience like this where, you know, my roommate from college turned out to be a prostitute killer. You know what I mean? This is like a very weird sort of thing that we're all dealing with here because Khloe was so universally well liked by everybody.
Yeah. And he was the yuck machine, the laughing machine for Russ's show. You know, even if it didn't make anybody else laugh, you always heard Khloe in the background cackling, you know, and then they'd go to break. You know, that was, to me, that's all Khloe's role was. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, he got what he deserved. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. What can we say about it?
That's it.
What can we say? Right. Life is complicated. All right. Let me give you another name to comment on your thoughts on my partner, Kelly Moore.
Love Kelly. And smart as a whip. You know, you know, the thing about Kelly and I, we never really had any interactions, but I liked arguing with her, and because she had such a great point of view, but she would stand her ground and dig her heels in, and I love that about her, you know, because I never saw her capitulate to anything.
A Chicago Irish Catholic girl raised with brothers. Yeah. You better, and then she does a show with me. You better. She can fight.
Yeah, it's great.
She does it. She's not a violent. Russ Martin.
All right. So here's what happened with Russ and I. That initial thing about me saying he sucked, it degraded from there.
No, you're telling me you didn't vacation together like besties?
Wait a minute.
That didn't begin a long relationship of.
So there was this thing, and the Russ was like, well, Mondo's a nobody, and I didn't give a fuck. I don't care. You can't hurt. The thing is that being on the Jager show, nobody can hurt my feelings from now till forever because I got beat up so bad, which I'm cool with. So there was a media Texas Hold'em tournament at the old Ranger Stadium, and there were a bunch of media guys playing, and I won the whole damn thing. And I won $5,000 to charity of my choice. It was me and one of the guys that's now on 105.3 The Fan, the morning guys. It's not Sean, the other, it's RJ. So it was me and RJ, and I flopped a full boat. And I think he had a straight and he called me and I won. So I was going to donate to wounded veterans, and Jager leaned over towards me and he goes, you know, it might not be a bad idea to donate that money to Russ's foundation. And I was like, oh, fuck, are you kidding? Well, so I, don't get me wrong, of course, great foundation, but it involved Russ. And so, and I'm not going to lie, and I'm not saying this in a negative way. It was going to go to a good charity that I wanted it to go to, because the Wounded Veteran charity, it was going to go towards soldiers to give them stuff to do while they're laying in hospital beds, to like do crafts and stuff, and just, you know, kind of, because this was during the war, you know, while we're doing that thing in Afghanistan and Iraq. So I sent the $5,000 over to Russ's foundation. Now that reminds me of the Gavin situation. There was another time Gavin had come in to rip me about something else I had done to Russ. And I said, this was probably 2 or 3 months after I had donated that money. They had that money. And Gavin's fucking ripping me on the air. And I said, well, it had something, I said something to the effect of, yeah, well, fuck, I won a media poker tournament and I donated that money to Russ's foundation. I didn't even get a fucking thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering about. So he didn't even send you, at the very least,
an
email
you know
saying,
what Gavin did?
Thank you so much.
Gavin did this. You did? Oh, well, thank you. Anyway, and then Gavin just fucking kept on ripping me. And man, I was like,
But Russ himself never reached out in any personal way, colleague to colleague. Hey man,
Zero.
thank you. That means a lot. Wow. Well,
Zero.
I mean, we've already
Wait a
kind of
minute.
figured out that he was broken from a child. There's childhood trauma there that created this.
Wait a minute. So, I had heard stories about Russ. I don't know if I should tell these stories because I can't verify that they're authentic or not.
You can.
Okay. Well,
Nobody-
I'm just going to say this, that these are, I have no way of knowing whether these stories are true. They came from secondhand sources. They involved advertisers. One was, there was a high-end whiskey company that built him a poker table that he destroyed out in the parking lot because they didn't get his they didn't put Russ Martin.
That was the logo thing, right?
Yeah.
This is, oh my God, did this blow back on me?
I don't know
They
the
wanted-
story. I don't know the story at
They
all. What
tried-
are y'all talking about?
The station tried to save this advertiser, and so they wanted me to like wine and dine them and like all of this stuff. The logo, what? Go ahead, Mondo. Go ahead, tell the story.
Well, I'm not going to mention who it was.
No,
but
don't.
He had the whole. It was like an $11,000 to $15,000, a very nice velvet topped poker table anybody on the planet would have wanted, and he took a shit. He basically took a shit on it and had it destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the other thing.
Because he thought that because the logo was too small.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. The
Yeah.
logo they did the RMS show logo too small on it. So all of these people's hard work, their kind gesture towards him. That's how
He shit on him. Second, there was another advertiser we had, and you know, this was Russ had cameras all around his, allegedly, Russ had cameras all around his compound and stuff. One of the advertisers had gone in, this is the story I heard, had gone in to do some house stuff to his house. One of the employees of the advertiser saw a tabletop book sitting on one of his coffee tables and happened to flip through it. Just quickly, like flipped the pages and walked off. Russ, when he went home that night, got on his computer, looked through the footage, saw the guy do that, and then called the advertiser, or called, I suppose, one of the people at the station and said, hey, this happened. I want that guy immediately fired, and it was done.
Yeah, he called the station salesperson. He called the station salesperson because he's not going to call a stranger and be, you know, like a dick to him.
Yeah.
So he raked over the station salesperson who had that account, and then that person had to call the guy, and they probably demanded to be fired. That is,
And allegedly that happened.
yeah. No, look, you don't even have to say allegedly because there's been enough of these stories that we've heard from other people about just petty, cruel.
So wait a minute.
Shit.
I'll tell you the final fun. This is the funnest part. So I don't know how many years go by, but the Edge hires us back. So, but they hired me, Jager, and Jasmine, but for some reason they didn't put Dean in the mix, and I don't know why, because that's the show. You know, it's 4 of us, and so, but Dean still came in on his own merits and stuff. We had just gotten to the station. We were doing all our show prep, you know, for launch. So we weren't even on the air at the Edge yet. They were still running promos that we were coming on in 2 weeks or whatever. So I was doing something, and I was in the halls, and Jager's door is open, and I hear him talking, and I hear Russ in there talking with Jager. So as I'm walking by, I hear Russ tell Jager, hey, what's Mondo's fucking deal anyway? And Jager looks up and he goes, well, there's Mondo right there. Why don't you ask him? And it was just like, oh, wow, right place, right time. So I had a big shit-eating grin on my face, and I come walking in, and he goes, hey, Mondo, what's your fucking deal with me? And I said, what do you mean, what's my deal with you? And he goes, you know what? I got a good mind to kick your ass. I said, well, let's go, Frog.
Let's go, Hillbilly.
Let's jump. Let's fucking hop on that bitch right now. Because I'm ready.
Mondo, I spent 8 years waiting for that invitation. I spent 8 years waiting for that son of a bitch to ask me to step outside because I couldn't do it, apparently.
You know what he did? He capitulated.
Of course he did.
He did this.
He's not a real tough guy.
He goes, hey, wait a minute. I just want to know what's this whole beef. And so I said, okay, friend, turn up the Philco and put your feet up by the fire. We're going to be here a bit. So I started laying into Russ. I said, so what if I said you sucked at playing guitar? Oh, man, that was the whole bit. I said, yeah, well, you didn't apparently tell Gavin that, because that motherfucker came on the air and started blowing me up. And he didn't go up after our show was over. He didn't put his arm around me and go, hey, Mondo, wasn't that great? He fucking blew my balls up, and then he kept it. So you obviously knew that, which I'm cool with. I don't give a fuck. I said, but the worst thing, and I told Russ, this is the worst thing that happened, was the fact that I won $5,000 in a poker game. I was going to donate it to a different charity, and I donated it to yours, and you didn't even give me a thank you. You know what Russ did? He stood up, faced me, got down on his knees, and kissed my hand, my right hand. I'm not shitting you. And he goes, listen, I'm a bombastic dick, and I can be cruel, but when it comes to my charity, I don't fuck around with that. And he goes, I'm being God's honest truth. I never heard that happened. This is the first time I'm hearing that. And I said, well, how is it that it was in my name that was sent to your foundation? I mean, don't get me wrong.
Well, because he doesn't look at that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I said maybe there's a bunch of people that are doing that, but all I know is that I never got a thank you. He kissed my hand and he thanked me from the bottom of his heart. And it was almost like doves started flying out of the studio, and we had a jet fly over, and there was a parade downstairs and marching bands, and we were singing Kumbaya. It was like, so Jager at that point, he would go, hey, how's your friend Russ doing? So it was kind of this goof thing. And so I was always like, if Russ ever came up in the news or whatever, I would go, oh, my friend. And then when I found out, well, there was this long thing of him not being on the air. And I was just kind of like goofily saying, oh, I hope my friend isn't hitting the sauce too hard. And I was being goofy until the day came that they announced that he had passed away. I was like, what the fuck? So
do we know what he passed away from? That was one of the questions that I left on the table with Dan. I should have asked.
Oh, I was well, do you think Dan would have answered that?
Sure. Yeah, Dan was pretty forthcoming. Yeah. I mean, it's something that we could easily find, it's not,
I don't think it's out there. I've looked in the internet recently. Recently last year, but
if the police showed up, there's a cause of death. There's paperwork that shows that there was a body removed from the house. I don't know if we'll get any medical details, but we'll at least get some sort of.
Said they were performing an autopsy in the last article that was on Google.
Natural causes. Yeah.
Mondo, how did you leave 105.3? Do you have a cool story around being fired or leaving?
That was the thing that happened to me when. Oh, at Live 105.3. Let's see. How did that? Well, okay. No, it's bullshit, actually. It's fucked up.
Well, that's fine. We got time for that as well.
Hear it.
So, obviously, we had the news that we were going to be flipping to sports. And a lot of shows were going bye-bye, except for us. And so, but it was, look, this wasn't I've said this before, and I'm not trying to sound trite or anything, but, this wasn't our first rodeo. If they flip the station, we're chameleons. We'll just go with the flow.
Right.
But, the next following Monday, we're live we're 105.3 The Fan. But the problem with that, with our program director, who we call the man with the black heart, and I never get this from radio consultants because they don't understand. By
the way, hold on, let me just to establish. So black heart, we're talking about Big B, right?
Big B, yeah. Okay. Consultants come in usually from different markets. Dallas market is different than Chicago, Philadelphia. Those are, especially like Philadelphia, Detroit. He had gotten those stations to number one, those sports stations. But those are blue collar, cities, and we're not Detroit, and we're definitely not Philly. And we're night and day listeners for that. Especially our sports fans. Our sports fans are when the Cowboys are doing great. I mean, you know, I'm not calling them fair weather fans, but I'm calling them fair weather fans. You know, the colors come out when we're winning, and when we're doing shit, get a 2-game losing streak for the Cowboys. Well, the season's done. Cooper Rush, great example. When Dak goes down, they thought, oh, the season's shit. And Cooper Rush kept us playing. So when we flipped to sports, Bigby's big thing was it's 105.3, the fan. Let the fans talk. You guys don't talk. Read, you know, we could see the text that would come into the station website, and a lot of it, especially at the beginning, because that's how it is at the beginning, is when you flip a station, there's a shit ton of hate that comes, you know, what happened to my station? But they want those people to go away. That's what listeners don't understand, is they want to bring in a new cadre of listeners, so they don't give a fuck if you go, because they want new people to come in. If you stick around, cool, but it's not going to be the station you were hoping it was.
Right. The reason they're switching is because they don't like you.
Yeah,
they want somebody.
Yeah, you weren't loyal enough.
Right. Yeah.
And there weren't enough of you. So we would sit there, and Bigby's big thing was, and it was infuriating because his big thing was, you know, the hot what's on the sports page. But then the next day we bring up headlines from the sports page, and the next day he goes, nobody gives a fuck about that. You guys need to be talking about what's on the living section. What the fuck? So I'll never forget. Jager was on. He was adopting one of his kids, and had left. So they had brought in another guy, and he was on our show. And it was like a Tuesday. This was during the Winter Olympics, and we were talking about the U.S. was taking on the Canadian women's hockey team, and so most of our show was dedicated to that because we were just constantly talking about it. Like everyone. All they wanted to talk about was the U.S. and Canada women's hockey team. Well, we get called to the carpet by Bigby going, hey, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Nobody gives a fuck about these women playing hockey. Are you guys crazy? You know, it's going to be spring soon. You don't need to be talking about planting the pansies out in the front yard and, you know, all this other shit. And we're like, are you fucking kidding? So what did we do? We talk about planting pansies. I'm being facetious. I don't remember what the next day we talked about, but, you know, we're planting pansies and dianthus and, you know, eucalyptus trees and shit in the front fucking yard. And what does he do? We get called on the carpet. And we're like, what the fuck do you do this time? He goes, how in the fuck are you guys not talking about this USA and women's Canada hockey team thing that's going? So we're going from one foot to the other from this guy. And to me, I was like, oh, we're on the way out. We can't do anything. But after every show, Bigby would poke his head and he goes, Jager, Jasmine, I want to come. You guys come talk to me. And me and Dean would be sitting there going, what the fuck? After every show, it was always Jager and Jasmine.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'd heard about him from other talent.
He's he's no longer with us.
I don't know if non-radio people recognize the level of disrespect because, you know, we all realize not that we're like artists and we're creating art, but the fact is no program director should ever be calling you saying you shouldn't be talking about that, because I can make me standing in line at Walmart an exciting 2 or 3 segments, right? Much less the Canada versus USA women's hockey team. I can make any of that shit good if I'm doing my job. So it is a personal insult whenever you get hotlined by the program director and he questions your story selection.
Bro,
that's not a small complaint that Mondo has.
Good program directors will not come near you an hour before your show or at any point during your show.
No,
they leave you alone. James, we're not artists. James said, you know, we're going to be sensitive, delicate artists. We're not artists, but we are performers. And you have to get into a headspace to be a performer. And a good program director knows you leave them alone. Now, the minute the show ends in my office, that's totally acceptable. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. More than one time, Bigby would come on during the show. You talked about the hotline ringing. He wouldn't even have a hotline. He would come straight from his car into our studio and make us stop our content in the middle of our content and kill it.
Yeah, and that's a guy who wants to be a host and failed at it and just is inserting himself.
We could not, you know, I'm just stupefied because Jager at that, like, okay, Jager would be like, okay, well, let's see here. Somebody's, it would just be bringing shit up. But he did that more than once, and it was like, fuck. But we, James, me and Dean saw the writing on the wall. But here's the thing. I think Bigby knew that it was just going to be Jager and Jasmine, and he was probably, I think it was Barsky.
Yeah, they brought in Paul
Barsky.
Yeah, Paul Barsky.
Yeah.
So Barsky was going to, I think, get folded in. And so, but he's a great guy, though. Paul Barsky's a great guy.
Do you know that Paul Barsky, when I was in junior high, Paul Barsky was my morning man in Chicago?
Oh, was he really?
Barsky in the morning. I used to listen to 7th, 8th grade, Barsky in the morning every morning.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Great guy. So I was sick. I want to say it was a Friday. And I was sick, like fever and everything. But I wanted to get out of the house. So I ended up going to a burger joint in McKinney because they had really good burgers, and sickness ain't going to keep me from a fucking burger. You know what I mean? So I'm on the square and I see my phone ringing, and it's the station. And I'm like, oh, fuck, the station's calling me. So I go outside and I'm like, this is Mike. And it was the HR person. And her name was Jana Shunk. And she goes, hey, Mondo. And I said, yeah. And she goes, hey, Mondo, it's Jana. I'm like, hey. And she goes, how you feeling? I said, oh, no, I'm still fucked up. And she goes, well, I got Tom Bigby on the other line. And he goes, hey, Mondo. Sorry you feel so bad.
Jana set you up.
Bad feeling already.
We got to talk to Jana. That's somebody who's probably got some stories.
Yeah. She goes, oh, Mondo, I hate like hell to have to do this, but, we've already let Dean go today, so we're going to go ahead and cut you loose. Jana, you can take it from here and fucking cut me loose on the fucking, telephone.
Oh.
So
you never want to talk to your boss when they're standing close to the HR person, because that's the hatchet is swinging, man.
I thought Jana was calling like, hey, did you want to up your insurance or something? You're sick, maybe you're gonna die,
Yeah.
Let's, no, it was here. Here's Tom Bigby, and Tom's like, Mondo, I hate like, and it's exactly, I hate like.
I know, and this is why we all understand Michael Scott's hatred of Toby in The Office.
No. Jana was wonderful. Jana was great.
He was beautiful.
No, but what she represented.
He was so helpful to me when I was trying to figure out how to insure my pregnant new wife. I love Jana.
Yeah, and it's not her fault that she's the precursor to the corporate Grim Reaper, but that's her position.
But she did set you up. No matter what we can do.
Oh God. Well, yeah, man. I had. Oh no, because it was. I guess you heard about Dean, is what he said, and I was like, oh no, and he goes, well, we had to let Dean go, and I hate like hell to have to do this, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? Because it was so far out of left field, and so they shit canned me. They shit canned me by telephone.
Mondo, what was your experience of the flip? Like, did you hear the marching band music and kind of get concerned and have to go through some sort of turmoil for that?
No, I mean, it was what it was. It was more of a. I still think Live 105.3 conceptually could still be a viable station. It may not be in the same context that it was like when we were all on, but if they had just left us the fuck alone, that's all they had to do. Yeah. That's all they had to do. They could sit there and count their money.
Yeah.
We were a money-making machine. So what if our numbers aren't there? We had advertisers and we had
were
loyal
all
listeners.
Sold out. Every show was sold out. It didn't matter if anybody was listening.
Yeah, the advertisers were happy.
The
advertisers were upset when the station flipped.
And by the way, that's not to suggest that nobody was listening. Although we were a very well-rated station. Our dollars were up. Our numbers were big. We were top 25, 54 men, neck and neck with the ticket for the entire run that we were there. I mean, there is no reason that this station shouldn't still be around. Now, could it still be in existence today? Yes. But here's what I would say about it. It would have to reflect the maturity of all of us. We've grown up a little bit. It wouldn't be, I think, the exact same kind of content.
I would still be genius, because that's how I rolled.
There's the catchphrase people were looking for in the chat room. They were like, "Who's his catchphrase?"
Genius, because I'm a bad motherfucker. Thank you.
All right,
little Heckletron, cool.
let's wrap this up. Anybody have any more questions for our guest Mondo Mike today? I'm all good. Thank you so much for being here, Mike. It's been wonderful hearing your side of things. As I'm saying to everybody, I would hope that you would be open to maybe another private interview. I want to, after we start putting this together, and I need a little bit more, a little deeper stuff. I want to talk to everybody. Not on the stream. Just we'll record it privately. And then. Just for some follow-up questions, if you'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, man. Whatever you guys want.
All right, thank you,
Can you
Mondo.
answer this comment down here, Mondo? Did you have a health scare or something that we need to be?
Yeah, I had cancer.
Yikes! That's kind of a big deal.
I beat it.
Yeah, I brought that up to Jager, and I was all like, yeah, so I remember when I was back in Chicago, I was very concerned of hearing all these reports about Jager, and Jager's like, he's fine. Kicked its ass.
Well, listen, here's the thing. I had lap band. I beat that. So, if anyone can beat lap band, it's me, because gravy is lap band lubrication. And then cancer, I had the only cancer of its kind on the planet. They didn't even know what the fuck to do. And I said, bring it on. Let's go, motherfuckers. They're like, yeah, you don't understand. We're going to beat the shit out of you. And I said, I don't give a fuck. Let's go. And I will say this on a personal note. If you ever get diagnosed, I hope no one ever gets diagnosed with cancer, but if you ever do, don't get on the internet. Just, the fight is not with the body. The fight's up here. When you win here, you've won. And as soon as they said, you've got a cancer we've never ever seen before, like we don't know how to treat this. UT Southwestern and MD Anderson couldn't do it. I said, I don't give a fuck, let's go. And I kicked its ass. I beat it so bad. Everybody's on the 5-year plan when they get cancer. After 2 years, they said, oh, you're good. We don't need to see you anymore.
What'd you have like that was so rare? Was it like
Thank you.
cancer or something?
No, it was called dendritic follicular cell sarcoma. So right here, they carved a good part of my gullet out and took out a bunch of lymph nodes.
It's up there in the moneymaker region.
Yeah.
I always thought that would be sort of a plus if you had a cancer that was like embarrassing, like if you had taint cancer or something.
Yeah. Make it hard to walk. I'd have to wear a kilt all the time, and I'm not even Irish or Scottish. Excuse me for all you Scots out there. But yeah, man, I kicked his ass. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Well done.
Good.
Well done.
Man.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I saw somebody in chat ask, yes, I'm a real estate agent. Yes.
So the last thing I want to float out to you, you're still in town, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I live in North Fort Worth.
Here's a thought I've been ruminating on. We should have a reunion. We should have some kind of organized party, bar night, where we just get everybody. Where I don't care if you were a salesperson.
Volleyball.
Just get all of us in the room at the same time. Would you be interested in something like that? You make yourself available for we should do that. Sometime around the time the release of the podcast, we'll probably have to plan some kind of big party. We'll do a live 105.3 reunion.
Well, there's a show that owns a bar.
Who's that?
There's a show that owns a bar.
Who?
Ben and Skin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Ben and Skin are going to be on the show at some point, probably next week.
Oh, are they cool, man?
Yeah, I had nice communication with them today, so they're very excited to be a part of it as well. And thank you for inviting us and all of that good stuff. All right, Mondo, we love you, buddy, and we'll talk.
Hey, I still go to Weinberger's. I've never tried your sandwich at Weinberger's, but
dude, I would never in a million years. I was so mad at Dan when he made that sandwich. I'm like, I would never in a million years make a sandwich like that. What the hell is this garbage? It's fucking delicious, dude.
Yes, it looks good.
Ridiculous. It's like some kind of. Where'd Buffalo go? Where's he?
I don't know.
All right. It's on some you got some roll up there in Buffalo that's like special. It's like a pretzel roll. It's like a pretzel, but it's a bun. Kimmelwick.
Kimmelwick.
Okay, so it's on like some Buffalo-based bread. It's like a pretzel bread, salty on top, and then there's like beef and horseradish. I hate everything I'm describing, and it's delicious. Freaking delicious.
Well, to me, everything at Weinberger's is awesome. So
it is. It's good.
Hey, you got to get out to Boots Burgers in Rockwall.
Will do.
Yeah, bring your cash. All right, fellas.
Yeah, we'll do that. There he goes. Bye, Mondo. Thank you so much,
ladies
and gentlemen. Mondo Mike, formerly of the Jager Show, our guest tonight on the Who Killed Live. I didn't even. You know what? We need to get the theme song going. We didn't even do that today. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. There we go. All right. Thank you to Mondo. tonight's Thursday, right? So that's it. We're good for the week. I guess that's going to be it. We'll be back again for another Pugs and Parker show on Monday of next week at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can catch up on all old shows by visiting pugscast.com. That's a sort of a cheat code to get to our YouTube page. It's just going to be all the old YouTube videos and stuff like that. If you enjoyed tonight's interview with Mondo, you can find any number of... Well, we got to relabel them. Okay, they're not labeled, but just randomly find them. You can find interviews with Jager. You can find interviews with Kelly. We talked to Sybil. We've talked to a whole bunch of people over the past couple of weeks. We've got more coming. We're wrapping this up as far as the interviews go. But I've been liking doing interviews with people. So maybe that'll be a new thing on the Pugs and Parker show. When we move past the 105.3 stuff, which is a project we're working on, when we move past that, maybe we get some real guests on. I don't know, maybe. As always, please help out the show if you can. We do accept your tips, your gratuities. Treat us like I'm your bartender. Treat us like I'm your... Treat me like I just parked your car. Throw a little something in the Cash App. Throw a little something in the Venmo. That's how these shows continue.
Hey, bro. It's coming up on Monday's show. We'll have to do this. Hang on. I'm sorry to interrupt. We'll have to do this on Monday's show. Here, let me do it like this. Our friend Dale, he smashed that Aryan chick. So just thought I'd throw that out there. That's all. Go continue with the John Hinckley. I just want to throw that out there.
Wait, you can't just drop it on me. That
the Aryan chick that like flipped to the FBI and put
yeah,
a bunch
I know the girl they're making the movie with.
Yeah.
All right.
They'll smash her like
Your life is so
yesterday.
There's just such goopiness around your immediate universe.
Not boring.
No, it's not. All right, so there you go. That's all you need to know. We'll see you tomorrow at noon for High Noon with me. Headlines, hot topics, current events, all that good stuff. And then back on Monday at 9 p.m. for more Pugs and Parker. This has been a production of the Radio Misfits podcast platform. I am Pugs Moran. Bye, everybody.
Quest.